Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. One that we appreciate is slightly later than planned, so sorry for the delay, but technical difficulties can always creep in. And here we are, ladies and gents, on a Wednesday that we should really just all be excited talking about the parade, the celebrations, the transfer targets. And yet it's been marked by the incident as part of the parade, hasn't it? So it's right to talk about that. And I've got, as ever, the renowned and the respected David Lynch with me. And I suppose, David, will get straight into this one because there's a million things to talk about. But there's only one place we should really start with everything that we're discussing. And almost fast forward into the latest news we've got. We got that briefing yesterday from Merseyside's Police Assistant Chief Constable Jenny Sims. And it's important to say, I almost gave a little punch of the air, but when she confirmed if the 50 treated, the 11 still in hospital are all in stable condition, that was the most important result of the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just, at the time it happened, you're panicking, aren't you, and thinking the worst, really. And so it was just kind of keeping an eye on those updates and really just hoping and praying for the best, really. And, you know, obviously it's terrible what has happened and so many people are injured and in hospital and things like that. But you've got to be kind of happy with this outcome in that it could have been so much worse, and so grateful that the 11 who were, you know, not great, but they're stable, they're being looked after, they're on the way, on the road to recovery. So that is, really great news, really. And I think, you know, thank goodness, really, because that means that we can all kind of focus on the positives from that and not let one terrible moment, take away from what was an incredibly joyous and celebratory occasion, really. So I'm delighted to hear that, really. And you send everyone who's still being treated all the best and hope they have a speedy recovery. But thank goodness it wasn't any worse than that, really.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers all with those still being treated, and fingers crossed they are out of hospital and safe as quickly as possible. And you're right to talk about that final day, because the scenes, the numbers, everything about it, up until that part, it was just, I'd almost describe it as unparalleled, unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I can't imagine there's ever been a parade for a trophy win that's been as big as that. I mean, the estimate, there was kind of 1.5 million people roughly along the route, really, which is just off its head, isn't it? I mean, you saw the scenes of people coming in from all over the country, people coming from much further afield. I mean, I couldn't believe really how many kind of different accents and nationalities I was seeing and hearing throughout that couple of days, really. People had flown in, not because they had tickets to the game, but just to be in the city for that moment, to celebrate the trophy lift, to be there for the parade as well. I could not believe, really, the amount of people that turned out. So unbelievable. And the scenes and the pictures, the video are all absolutely phenomenal. And people have been waiting 35 years for this. And I think it absolutely lived up to expectations in terms of the scale of it and the beauty of it, really. So, absolutely incredible scenes. And it just shows you that Liverpool Football Club is, really, really special, isn't it?
Yeah, it is special. And what makes it special, it's important to talk about this, is the fan base, because I'm sure people have seen this on social media. In this sort of terrible situation, there's just something unique about our fan base. The way people rallied round, giving lifts, sorting accommodation, offering up various things. It just shows how special a club and fan base this is, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about people, the locals, by the way, Scousers, and kind of the reputation they maybe get from the rest of the country and all the nonsense that's talked about Scousers, really, and the way that they're put down by other people. Small-minded people, I hasten to add. Not all people across the country are like this, but particularly small-minded people who are like that. But you see in moments like this the reality of it all, and the amount of people that would try, offering up sofas or beds or lifts or anything. The real kind-heartedness that kind of is the at the heart of the city, really. And then also, I think Liverpool supporters, even if they're from outside of Liverpool, you buy into that ethos, because that's what you find attractive. That's, you know, part of it. It's not just because, oh, this is good football team, I like them. It's the everything that's behind it, and the City is really at the, you know, at the heart of all of this, and the ethos that's there, and that bleeds into the football club. And so Liverpool fans as a whole, you know, the fact that you know, it was kind of in moments, you know, by all accounts in the City, kind of packed out in areas really difficult to get through, the transport issues they're having, queuing for hours with all that going on, and the fact that everybody was just looking after each other and there was no kind of disorder outside of that horrible moment. And I think that speaks volumes about Liverpool supporters, Liverpudlians, just everything to do with the club and the city, really. And the fact that you know, they all pulled together in that moment, I think speaks absolute volumes, really, about everybody who's involved in this club.
Yeah, absolutely. And it felt right as well that Arne Slot, Jurgen Klopp, everything was postponed and the full focus is on these. So, yeah, all thoughts and prayers still with those 11. And, I mean, going back, we almost forgot about this a little bit, but there was actually one final game to punctuate the season and put a full stop on it. A 1-1 draw at Crystal Palace, or at Anfield against Crystal Palace with 10 men, by all accounts. It was an interesting game, wasn't it? It's fair to say, this one.
Yeah, it was kind of more of a game than I really expected in terms of, because it didn't matter, both sides being, you know, obviously Palace coming after the cup win, Liverpool obviously just waiting to lift the trophy. I kind of thought it'd be a bit of a kind of, you know, a bit of a nothing game, really, but it actually was quite entertaining in the end. And I thought Palace showed how good of a team they are, how well set up they are, but also they've got just real quality all the way through. And then Liverpool, of course, showed kind of a bit of spirit of champions as well. And, you know, it was great, actually, after they score that, you know, there's the huge roars. And, you know, you would have thought it was like a Champions League semi-final or something. It meant something to everyone. And, you know, I'm glad that Liverpool did score as well, and that there was that moment, that let off, because, you know, it didn't matter about the result. And if they'd got beaten, so what? But it was nice that everybody had that moment to celebrate the goal and everybody to, you know, kind of go mad in that moment. So that was great, really. And the fact that they avoided defeat was nice in the end as well. So it was a decent game, entertaining as well, and particularly the last bit when they were just going at each other.
The weirdest thing was, I mean, there was life to it, but after Ryan Gravenberch gets sent off there in the 68th minute, Arne Slot and Liverpool just went for it, wasn't it? It was a case of get every attacker on the pitch possible, but everyone, despite it being the final bit before the ceremony, all players were chasing down, working hard. They deserved that equaliser as well.
Yeah, and to be honest, to the point you kind of forgot that Liverpool were down to 10 men at that point. I mean, it kind of they were playing really well in that moment. They coped with that really well. And again, you know, it's down to Arne Slot, isn't it, in the way that he you know, tweaks things. And we saw it against Fulham earlier in the season. He's very, very good at accounting for that loss of an extra man, finding where you can make, you know, can kind of cancel that out and push on with that. So I thought they did a really good job of that. And just kept throwing on attackers as well. So that made it really entertaining, made it really end to end, and was a big part of Liverpool getting the goal in the end. So it was, it was really, really fun to watch.
And for the goal, it felt right that the man on screen, Mo Salah, got it. I mean, you just look at that picture. For those that can't see it, Players Player of the Year, Football Writers Player of the Year, Golden Boot, Playmaker Award. I mean, equals, doesn't he, the record of goal contributions in a season, but based on 38 against Alan Shearer and others 42. It was right that he equalled it, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, he's out on his own there, isn't he? Because as you say, that's a 38 game season against a 42, really. So he's you know, the outright probably best Premier League season there's ever been for an individual. So, you know, it's as simple as that for me, really. You can't really put those or compare those two records. Salah is out on his own, and yeah, it's just as good an individual season as you're ever going to see. Top goal scorer, top playmaker, wins the Premier League title. It doesn't really get much better than that. So, it's just genuinely as good as it gets, and I'm glad he got the goal in the end to kind of match them in that regard, because that is essentially surpassing them. So, what a marvelous season it's been for him.
Just absolutely out on his own compared to anyone else. And another player that it's interesting to talk about, Trent Alexander-Arnold came on at half-time. I don't know if that was by design or anything with Conor Bradley, but he got I think it's fair to say, a positive reaction, and at the end as well. Any surprise at that with you, or did you think that was always going to happen?
Didn't know what to expect, if I'm being honest. Obviously saw him warming up at half-time and kind of thought, oh, there could be some booing in the offing here, but you really did not know what to expect. And then obviously he comes on and it's a really warm reception, and a really warm reception for him throughout the day. And I have to say, I've written about kind of completely understanding why fans are frustrated with him. I've spoken about that in the past, and very much sympathise with that view. But I was also, as much as that is true, I was glad to see that it ended in this way, because I think ultimately at the Arsenal game and around that, everybody made the point, we're not happy about this. You've had us off. This has been engineered, and the supporters are really not happy about the way you've done that, particularly as you're a lad who said you only ever wanted this. So I totally get those frustrations and why that booing happened. But then the point got made then. There was no need to do it again. And so at some point, it's also worth recognising that, yeah, he has been there for 20 years. He's a local lad. He's been part of a team that's taken Liverpool from being, also runs pretty much to very much constantly in contention now for Premier League titles and Champions Leagues. He's been a big part of that journey, and a world-class player and a big, big contributing factor to the successes they've had in that time. So he got booed against Arsenal. Everyone told him how unhappy they were. And he also got cheered in the game against Crystal Palace, and everyone told him how great he's been as well. And I kind of like that balance personally. I know not everyone will agree with that, but I think it was nice that in the end there was some balance. And do you know what? At the end of the day, even if you dislike him and you totally think he's this, that, and the other, why would you ever let him ruin that day? Or you don't want to spend the day that Liverpool fans have been dreaming of for 35 years booing anyone. What's the point? So just kind of kill him with kindness, and that's the best way to sign it off, really, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it is interesting. The chat panel is full of mixed opinions on this, let's put it that way. But it is done now. And probably the final thing about the day, it's important to say, there was some great moments, wasn't there? The songs in front of the crowd, which we'll talk about at the end, the cop. But this one on screen, Alan Hansen and Virgil van Dijk together. I mean, the whole lift, the celebration, the way it was done was just brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal, really. I mean, what was great about it as well is I spoke to some people at the club kind of about this, is that they were very eager to get the trophy lifted as quickly as possible after the game. They didn't want to hang around, and you've seen in the past he maybe misjudged some of these situations and maybe taken a little bit long with the presentations and all these sorts of things that go on. And they were all about speed and getting it done this time, because people don't want to hang around as much as they want to see this, and they want this moment. It's the trophy lift's what it's all about. So get to that. And then the way they judged it as well, in terms of it being Alan Hansen. I mean, Virgil van Dijk told us after in the mix zone that was actually his idea, which he wasn't bragging about it. We kind of he got asked about whose idea it was, and he said, yeah. And that was absolutely amazing for me, because I just don't think, I thought when it came out that it was going to be Alan Hansen, I was like, wow, what an amazing decision someone at the club's made there. Someone who absolutely gets, the beauty of that, him being the last title winning captain and being a centre half, what he's been through recently, the fact he's absolutely loved as a class act by Liverpool fans. Yeah. I thought, what a decision. And then the fact it was Van Dijk who did it just absolutely blew me away, really. I mean, this is a guy, you talk about players getting a club. I mean, goodness me, the fact he decided it should be Alan Hansen is just, I think it speaks volumes about how much he gets it and loves and understands this club, Van Dijk. And then to see them there together was just perfect. And look at the way Van Dijk looks at him, the admiration he's got for him. And I mean, rightly so. And I think every Liverpool fan looks at Alan Hansen like that. It was just perfect. I thought they judged it absolutely spot on, really. It was magnificent. And yeah, what a joy to be there and witness it.
Yeah, it was a special day. It's been a special season. There'll be many things we'll be talking about for a long time to come. However, I know, David, you can see the chat panel, and you've probably seen about 86 billion questions around one particular topic. transfers and contracts. And it's kind of understandable now that the season's opened. We've got the 1st of June transfer window 1, if we want to call it that. So we might as well get straight into this one. I mean, there's quite a few we're going to have to talk about here, because we said last week we'd have a look for final day reactions in terms of outgoings and different bits. So there's a few players to put to you. Let's call them the criers, but maybe in a good way. Chiesa was in tears when his song was being sung, and Harvey Elliot was in a fair bit of tears. There's big question marks now around those reactions in these two, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Chiesa, 100% you'd expect to leave. He's going to want to go to play more football elsewhere, and there will be interest in him from Italy. I mean, I was told, there was suggestions a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there, that Napoli were advanced. I don't think at that point it was advanced. Maybe they will come for him, but it wasn't quite there around a week ago or so. So we'll see, but there will be interest from Italy. I'd be amazed if there's not. And he, Liverpool won't stand in his way. He's not got a role in the squad next season. So, I would expect him 100% to leave. And Harvey, maybe there's the chance that, he goes for another year in terms of just because, maybe they end up selling more players than they want to. They don't want to manage turnover, and he doesn't want to go. He's part of this as well. So he's not going to absolutely force his way out. But yeah, I still think the writing's on the wall there, really. I think he's a big candidate to leave this summer. There's going to be interest in him. There's going to be a lot of money put on the table for him. And, I think if any of those moves even slightly appeals to him, he will go for it to go and play more football, which is a real shame, really. Boyhood Liverpool fan, he's got to live the dream. He's got to win trophies here, but it just doesn't look like there's a role for him in the squad. He's a great lad as well, so we'll be gutted to kind of see him go. But it's a huge possibility now. You can't guarantee anything in football, but it's there's a massive chance that he now leaves.
And probably joining him, and it was interesting. I don't know if people saw the interviews with Kelleher afterwards. He was quite, and not in a bad way, but quite open, wasn't it? To say, I want to go and be a number one. So that just feels inevitable, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've been able to say this with some confidence for a while now that Kelleher would leave. There's, again, interest in him massively. He wants to go. Liverpool won't stand in his way outside of just getting a fairly decent fee. So he's got a lot of suitors. So yeah, and he changed agents in February, I think. So that's all very much in preparation for making sure he gets his move this summer. So I do expect Quavine Kelleher will go. And Liverpool are kind of sorted in that regard already, aren't they? They've got Alisson, Mamardashvili's coming in. So they're pretty well stocked in the goalkeeper department. So all the ingredients are there for him to move on this summer.
And the final outgoing, which I didn't think we'd be talking about at the start of the day, but this is kind of broken this morning, hasn't it? It looks like Johnny Heitinga could well be on his way to Ajax there as a head coach. Now, I know you all have seen the rumours and suggestions. We've heard the likes of Stevie G coming back, Thiago coming back as assistant, but it's still early days on this one, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess the decision is going to be Johnny Heitinga's in the end. I mean, you saw the quotes from Arne Slot in the breakout where he talked about, he said if John's smart, he'd stay here for one more year. Yeah. So, maybe he's going to there's going to be a decision to make there really, and whether he thinks it's the best move for him or not. But obviously, Liverpool have given him permission there to talk to Ajax, see what the lay of the land is, and he's going to have to make a call on that. So very, very, very hard to predict which way that's going to go because it's all on him really and his personal decision, and we can't quite get in his head yet. So we just want to kind of keep your ear to the ground and see what happens with that one.
Yeah, you do fancy it. If he makes that call, it will move quite quickly from there. So we'll see what develops on that. And before we get into the incomings, again, there's no sort of wiggle room on this. You'll have seen Arne Slot saying, we've got loads of plans for the summer. And Virgil van Dijk's upgraded from big to a massive summer. So they're queuing themselves up for a good beating if they don't deliver a big, quote, massive summer, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, kind of everyone around it has been saying this for quite a while now, really, is that, a lot's going to happen and you can just see it. I mean, they've already got half of these stitched up, to be honest, that's half the deals. And then obviously there's going to be more exits as well, which will facilitate more business. So, you can see a lot of ins and a lot of outs going on at Liverpool this summer. So I don't think they're over promising to under deliver here. I think a lot of this is actually going to happen. So it's it's going to be a mad one, really.
And we know Frimpong, we're just waiting for that to be announced. We've been talking about that before, but this is the one that everyone's waiting with bated breath on, aren't they? Florian Wirtz. Almost, again, similar to anything else. Everyone's just waiting for that Ornstein bomber or whatever it is to drop. We're just waiting for that to be confirmed, agreed, and we move forward from there, aren't we?
Yeah, so as far as we're aware at the moment, just talks are ongoing. Obviously, the massive thing here is that Virgil has kind of given his word to Liverpool, and that's the club he wants to join. And Liverpool are going into this with their eyes wide open in terms of what the fee would be around. So it's just, getting the details nailed down in terms of what the fee looks like, in terms of how much is guaranteed, how much is add-ons, how are those add-ons triggered. All those elements of the deal are being thrashed out at the moment. But, it can come at any moment that they reach full agreement. And I think all parties are kind of working as quickly as they can to get this done. Confidence it will get done. And hopefully it'll be as soon as possible so we can talk about where he fits in and get really excited about the idea of him being in a Liverpool shirt.
Yeah, because we spoke about this last time, saying that Liverpool this summer, their whole even the whole entire summer would be defined by, do we bring an elite attacker in of some sort and where he plays? Like, if Florian Wirtz comes through the door, that's an elite attacker. We should be massively excited about that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely talking about one of the best young players in the world here. I mean, he's only 22 and the numbers he puts up, his underlying numbers are incredible. And just watch him. Like, he's really, really good at football. Yeah. So, very, very exciting that they could sign a player of that profile. Arguably, is it the highest profile signing in the Premier League era for Liverpool? I would say absolutely yes. So, it's great that they're in a position to make that signing, that they've been able to sell it to him, and he's thought this is the place to be. And I'll tell you what won't hurt really is seeing the scenes against Tottenham, the scenes at the parade and the trophy lift after Palace as well. So it's interesting really, because the reporting's been, hasn't it, that he made his decision around kind of mid-May or whatever. So they've seen what happened at the Tottenham game, and they've seen all the kind of celebrations there, and he played at Anfield already this season and seeing that, so that obviously helped. So but at the basis of this is that he is elite level. You always question whether he can switch it to the Premier League. That's going to be tough, obviously. But he looks like a player who will be more than capable of doing it, because the quality is there.
And people are debating in the chat panel already, is he going to come from the left side? Is he going to be almost a false nine like Bobby? And while we're talking about attackers, I mean, this one is it's not a new name, but it's a name back in the mix, it's fair to say, isn't it? Hugo Ekitike, Eintracht Frankfurt forward, French. We've almost talked about this, and almost it got dismissed for a while, but now from today, it's back in the mix. Do you think there's a possibility with this one, or do you think it's a recycling of old news?
No, I think there's definitely a possibility, in the sense that, kind of any striker of that age and, who's putting up decent numbers in the Bundesliga, which he definitely is, they'd be on the radar. Wonder whether, there's always an aspect, isn't there, of maybe agents trying to hurry other clubs along or whatever. But I think Liverpool might be in the mix. I've not had anything concrete in terms of them pushing right now as things stand. So, we will just kind of have to keep an eye on that, really. It's one report at the moment, isn't it? It's not really kind of accelerated to anything bigger than that. So we will kind of just have to see with that. I've not had any kind of clear indication on that, but I think you'd be very silly to rule him out at this point, because, like I say, young striker, a lot of potential, good numbers, good underlying numbers in a strong league, obviously in the Bundesliga. So, I'd just say keep an eye on that one for the moment. But as I say, nothing concrete on my side of things that I've heard really, but we'll see.
And the other name, which is pretty prominent at the moment, Milos Kerkez. I mean, there's been quite a few reports that we are in talks with him, that we've got a deal with the player. It's a name we've sort of talked about at length. Are we expecting something to really happen with this soon, though, like Wirtz and the others?
Yeah, it seems to be accelerating. I mean, they pretty much look like they've got an agreement on the player side in terms of all that part of thing. It's just about what happens with with obviously the club to club talks or whatever. Now, again, not had any confirmation that they're directly in negotiations at the moment. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll be quite busy with the Florian Wirtz stuff at the moment. But I think, again, all the ingredients are there for that one to move quickly if they want to. I mean, it's just a case of, like I said, players got full buy-in. He's absolutely wants to join Liverpool. There's no question there. It's just about whether you can agree that fee with Bournemouth. So, there is competition there. Other clubs are interested in him. So Liverpool might have to kind of move quickly, but they're moving quickly with a lot of stuff at the moment. Yeah. We'll see what happens with that. I've not had anything in terms of direct club to club talks just yet. But obviously he's very, very high up on the list and they like him and the players got full buy-in to the move. So it's one of those that can just go, all of a sudden they're there and it's pretty close. So I mean, I'm much bigger on that one than I am on Ekitike at the moment in terms of which direction that one's heading in, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about the 1st of June a bit earlier in this section to say that's when transfer window 1, which we're going to call it, opens. It almost feels like these next days are going to be crazy busy. And by the 1st of June, we'll almost have confirmed incomings and outgoings. It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not sure, they didn't need to get it done in that first window, I suppose. But I guess if it's there, you might as well make use of it. And, it's always handy to get your business wrapped up as early as possible because you look to last summer and kind of the idea, well, Liverpool didn't do much in the transfer market. But I mean, how chaotic it was in terms of players coming back from international tournaments and the effect that kind of had on how the summer was played out and the preparations Arne Slot was able to put in place. They obviously want, because they know it's going to be a busy summer, get as many of those players through the door as soon as they possibly can to have them all in place to be there the first day of pre-season, because it's a lot of players you're going to have to bed in. And I think they'll want to, when they start the season, they'll want to maybe make as few changes as possible to the starting 11 on the first couple of games and ease those players in. But equally having them ready and used to the way of working and familiarizing themselves with the teammates as quickly as possible is massively helpful. So that is, that's a huge aim for them really over this summer. So, it's a wise move in my opinion to make full use of that kind of early window.
Yeah, we are expecting quite a lot of movement, maybe both ways in the next week. We'll have to see on this one. And the final part of the show, a bit different because normally we're looking ahead to what's coming up with the next game, but we're actually looking back a little bit this week because, I mean, if you look at that league table, probably for one last time as we do it on the screen, it's a brilliant thing to look at. There's been so much to be pleased around, but we're going to get some hard answers and some hard questions put to David on the season review and how we found it and what his thoughts are. So I'm almost going to rewind you, David, right back to the start of the season or when Arne Slot comes in, even in pre-season that way. So with Arne Slot taking over, the situation and what your expectations probably were, it's fair enough. We can both say this. It's a surprise, but the best surprise to have ended up as champions, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we said we could probably go back to the podcast before the season started really and say, I thought top 3 finish and maybe a run in one of the cups will be a decent season really. So, pretty much a repeat of what we'd seen the season before because, you hoped Liverpool would have a better injury record, but equally bedding in a new manager, a new style of play. The fact City just always win the league and Arsenal were strong and seemed to be there constantly. You just didn't think that this was going to happen, really. I didn't think Liverpool were going to be this good. And yeah, just a huge surprise. And as you say, a pleasant one. But again, the fact that they did that with a disrupted preseason and just hit the ground running and just won is just phenomenal work in terms of coaching, really. And yeah, it's just testament to how good Arne Slot is. And the fact is, if he's going to get a full pre-season this time, that's going to be massively helpful because I just think that they did what they've done this season without that. It's just remarkable, really. And it just says how smart that coaching team is and also how good the players are as well. So yeah, much better than I expected, which was probably a third place in maybe the League Cup. Premier League title at a canter and the League Cup final as well, and probably gone out the Champions League to the Champions League winners. So yeah, it just makes you very excited for what's to come next season.
Don't know if it's my end, sorry, it dropped there for a sec, people. But the next question I wanted to ask you was actually a player-specific one, in all honesty, because we know Mo Salah's won all the awards, Virgil van Dijk lifts the title as well. But which player actually impressed you the most? Is it one of those, or is it anyone that might surprise people?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to say, like, Mo Salah impressed me the most because, I mean, like I said, probably the greatest individual season in Premier League history. So that was quite impressive, I think it's fair to say. But in terms of kind of, personally being impressed by, as in, because Salah is of that level. I'm almost not surprised that he's been that good this season, because he's a freak of nature, absolutely world class. So I think if you can pick out a player who impressed me the most, I think it has to be Ryan Gravenberch. In terms of where he came from in my expectations of him to what he actually delivered this season, I think he is number one, really. Who saw this coming? Absolutely nobody. That he would emerge as one of the best holding midfielders in the league, that he would have similar numbers to Caicedo, who costs kind of 110 million. He was just absolutely ridiculous, really. And you saw he's a dual winner in there. He wins challenges, but he also and smart with his positioning, but he's also still got that little turn to get him out, the quality of his feet and the way he moves the ball. So hugely impressive season from him. And I just thought, just not something I saw coming, similar to Liverpool's performance overall, really. So I thought magnificent, and he's only just turned 23, hasn't he? So he's going to get even better. So I think he was the kind of the one I was most impressed by.
Do you know what? It's crazy. It's a fair shout. You can't argue against any of that. And as you said, Salah, Van Dijk going to new levels, Alexis McAllister. There has been so many that have impressed us this season. And I mean, they've delivered great moments. There's been some great games. Have you got a favourite moment of the season at all?
I think the favourite moment, just as a pure moment, I think is possibly just after the Tottenham game, really. I know it's not necessarily within a match or anything like that, but just spine tingling, really, to be in the ground and see that, the roar at full time, the joy in the ground as the goals are going in, but then, when the game finishes and the fans and the players are dancing together, and, the place is just a sea of red smoke and just pure joyousness, really, and then you'll never walk alone and one kiss and all that, kind of going through the hits. It was just absolutely beautiful moment, really, and one that we have probably discussed and talked about that with friends and each other for 35 years, and then it finally happened. So it was just absolute magic, that, really. So that was my easy pick for favorite moment of the season, to be honest.
I think that'll be it for most people. Probably most people's best day as a Liverpool fan in recent memory. No two ways about it. And I mean, we've had some great results this season, especially away, but some great ones at home, of course, as well. Was there a match when you thought, that's Liverpool, that's our best win, or one that you really were impressed by us as a team this season?
There's somewhere, you've got to say kind of Brentford's huge, isn't it? In a defining result, really, with the run that Liverpool were on at the time. It just kind of gets them back going. And, there's plenty of other kind of big ones in there. But for me, I think possibly the one that I think back to, and I think the one that brought me the most kind of pleasure and that I felt that was crucial at the time was maybe the Brighton win at home. 1-0 down, struggling in that game. And I think I'm right in saying that City lose that day and also Arsenal lose that day, or they both certainly drop points. And I think were they both maybe playing at the same time, and that was ongoing, and you knew this was happening. You're like, oh, Liverpool are dropping points as well. What a nightmare. And the way they just roared back, and the way the crowd was, and the way Anfield was just as a whole, and the collective, and the sheer spirit and the grit that the players showed, but also the quality of the performance in that second half as well, to kind of blow Brighton away, and then to cap it with Mo Salah blasting that one in at the Kop end. That was a crucial win, that one, that set them on the way to winning the title. And it was just a beautiful example of kind of fans and players working together. The genius of Arne Slot, his changes coming off, which has been a big theme for this season. I think he brings Diaz and Curtis Jones on, and they're both involved in big moments. So for me, that was kind of the win that maybe kind of defined it, really. And I thought an absolutely crucial one, and one I look back on with a lot of affection, really.
Yeah, I love that game. And that was honestly what I was thinking, because the first half was that bad. Then he works it out at half time, makes the changes, and there's just that period where Anfield just swallows Brighton basically whole and spits them out. So, yeah, we've seen that so many times this season. And it might not be that game. And there was no almost, I don't know, was there like a Salah moment where he whips his top off against United in 1920 and you're thinking, we've won the league? Was there that moment for you at all in this campaign?
Yeah, I think it was the win at City, the 2-0 win at City. I mean, to be honest, I think we had been saying in the podcast even prior to that, Liverpool were going to win the league, because you looked at points per game, what they needed, what they had left to do. I felt it before that, really, probably halfway through the season, because the gap had just got too big and Arsenal didn't look like they were capable of recovering it. But I think the win at Manchester City, because it came on the back of Arsenal, had lost to West Ham at home, and it put a bit of pressure on Liverpool to go there and get the result. City were just battling, weren't they, to try and get something, and they wanted to kind of, they needed to kind of salvage some pride, and going to the Etihad's not been easy for Liverpool in recent years, and yet they went there and put in not the performance you would expect in terms of backs to the wall, and they kind of ground it out, but they never really looked in any danger. It was just a beautiful kind of 2-0, a perfect tactical performance, good goals, just really, really good win that. And I think the moment that win was secured and Arsenal had lost the day prior, I think on the Saturday late kickoff, that was it for me. That it was absolutely done at that point. I pretty much already believed before then, but that was the moment I thought it was completely over.
Yeah, it was a weird game. That City could have played for 6 days and not scored against us. We just looked so professional in that one. And I mean, for all these players that we've talked about, probably a different one to ask you, because we talk about Salah, Van Dijk and others there. Is there an unsung hero at all for you? One that you think probably should have got more plaudits for their season?
It's tough, really, because the 11's been kind of quite settled, hasn't it? There's not been anyone who's kind of, I don't know, who's not getting enough praise probably for the performances. I mean, there's still people who kind of do down Luis Diaz a lot. And I think you've got to look at, he's kind of averaged a goal contribution every other game this season, in a season where Salah has taken basically all the goals and assists. That's quite impressive. And I think, to do it in a season where he's had to play false nine as well and done a great job there. And there's still people who are just absolutely desperate to kick him out the door. And I don't get that. You got a guy who's flexible, hardworking. He's on low wages, which is helpful. But he gives absolutely everything. He can play in multiple positions and always tries his best. And he also chips in with goals and assists. So maybe I'll give it to him in terms of an unsung hero, because he's done a lot on the pitch that maybe's not earned him as many plaudits as he possibly deserves. He's been a crucial part of this season.
Yeah, he is a shot. I've got to be honest, I just can't get away from Alexis McAllister. I still think he's the best midfielder in the league right now. Can do it all, that experience, that even on Sunday you saw in that game, and I know it's the end of the season, so it doesn't matter. He's just football IQ is missing. I just think he makes that midfield tick. And any club, and I mean any club in the world, we'll have to see, will want him in their side. So, yeah, I just think he needs to be praised at the same time. And I mean, we kind of know how the summer's unfolding. We know it looks like Wirtz is going to come in. It's possibly, but likely set to be Kerkez. Frimpong, pretty certain, is going to join him. Is there any other positions you're thinking, I really want to see them strengthen this season or this summer?
I think, I mean, to be honest, they're attacking all the positions you'd think. I mean, I'd said a while ago, I think that maybe left back and centre forward are the priorities for me. Now, we'll have to see how Wirtz is used. Is that going to be as a kind of false nine type and that strengthens that position? Or are they going to look to an Ekitike who they've kind of kept an eye on? But, we don't know yet if that's anything they're going to pull the trigger on. So, those two positions for me are the absolute basis, really. And then anything beyond that will kind of just be based on outgoings, really, and the need to replace players. So, I don't think there are huge weaknesses to the kind of the best 11 in this team that need looking at outside of, getting a slightly better, younger left back and also getting someone at centre forward who is elite level, or at least just bangs in the goals, because they've lacked that all season. But anything else, really, I think, they can strengthen out the squad with players that the manager trusts a little bit, but I think it's going to be that versus, I think the ones that will raise the ceiling of this team are the ones that they're kind of working towards now, really.
Do you know what? It was a nearly perfect answer, but the words Adam Wharton didn't come out your mouth, so it's not quite perfect. So that would be the one for me that would just send it over the edge, but we'll have to see what happens this summer. I mean, you look at this squad, you look at who's going to be added to this squad, and others are going to make moves. We know, like we talked about Arsenal before, they'll strengthen. City will probably come again. If Wirtz, Frimpong and Kerkez added, obviously that won't be the sum total of the business. I don't think anyone expects that. But if those three come in based on where we are right now, you'd make us favourites for the league and a real crack at the Champions League as well, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I always get worried about kind of predicting anything from signings. I see Manchester United fans do it every single summer and tell us how great they're going to be, and then all of a sudden the football starts and they're absolutely terrible. So I don't know. I'm a little bit wary up until the point that they pull on the shirt and we have a look at how that works out, particularly if they're coming from other leagues as well. But I think Liverpool should start as favourites on the basis that, their business has got to damage them and make them worse. And I think for Arsenal and City, their business has got to make them much, much better. I didn't really like a lot of City's January work, to be honest. Only Marmoush has kind of made any impact or telling impact so far. So they've got to get more from that. And then, the summer has got to be lads coming in who are ready-made and are going to kick them on, because, if that's not the case, then they're miles behind and they're starting as a side that's got serious weaknesses. In Arsenal, they've got to find a way to create more and score more goals. So, those are tough signings to get right. And, again, they had a poor summer last summer, so they've got to do better than that. So pressure on them to do that. Whereas Liverpool are starting, with quite settled 11 roughly, maybe adding a couple to that, then they can pad out the squad. But they're starting with a side that is in good nick. And so, regardless of how the signings get on, I think they should be favourites anyway. And you would also trust Liverpool ahead of any of them, really, to get their signings right, because their hit rate is generally much higher. So, yeah, I think they should start favourites regardless. And I won't be making any sweeping predictions about the signings just yet, because I'm too scared to do that.
Which is fair enough. But for me, I look at our collection of attackers right now, and I think it's the best in the league by far. And it's always sort of the tip of the spear that makes the difference. And if Wirtz is going to be added to that, good luck to all the rest. But we'll see what unfolds for this summer. It probably is a little bit early to making any crazy predictions. But there we go, ladies and gents. So much to like for the final day. Again, thoughts and prayers are all going towards the 11, and fingers crossed we get even better news in the coming week. People, we're looking for news on transfers. We will see what develops. But for the last time almost in this current season, and reviewing this current season as it were, all it leaves me to say is ever, David, for the time, the insight, and giving us all those thoughts and opinions, it is much appreciated.
No, thank you. And great hosting work as usual this season. And thanks to everyone who kind of comments and gets involved as well, because it makes it much more fun and interesting.
Indeed. And ladies and gents, on Wednesday, the 28th of May, that was another Media Matters.